He's about this close to wrapping it up. This is gonna be it right here. What the hell's that?
Excuse me, but if this were an actual emergency, wouldn't they be giving us instructions on what to do?
What'll it be?
I'll have a steak, please.
And how'd you like that cooked?
Rare if you would, and water, no ice.
Coming right up.
Hello, I'm Gladys Foster.
Oh, hello, Gladys. It's so nice to meet you. I'm Sandra, and this is my husband, Howard. Gladys, the lines seem to be down around here.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that, sweetheart. It'll all be over soon. Oh, thank you, dear. How far along are you?
Ah, just about there.
But it's gonna burn.
Go to hell, Amy.
All those little babies are gonna burn.
Oh. No. I don't know who the hell you think you are.
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film and Comics Explained. And as voted for by everyone in the latest poll, today we'll be exploring Legion, the 2010 supernatural horror directed by Scott Stewart. Starring Paul Bettany, Lucas Black, Tyrese Gibson, Adrianne Palicki, Kate Walsh, and Dennis Quaid, it follows an unfortunate group that must overcome the apocalypse.
I don't even believe in God.
Well, that's just fine. Bobby doesn't believe in you either.
After God loses faith in humanity, as he did before the Great Flood, he sets the groundwork to destroy the world and start anew. But there's a significant difference in how he plans to do so. In the book of Genesis, we're given an account of Noah, his family, and God's impetus for world annihilation. After Adam and Eve ate from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, things began a downward spiral. Humanity began multiplying, and violence reigned. Sin and evil intensified. Just before the story of the flood, we learn that the Lord saw the wickedness of man was great on the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And because of this, the Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. So much so that he sent the floodwaters as judgment, an unstoppable tide to end the wickedness once and for all. Genesis literally describes the flood as the decreation of the world. The earth sinks back into the chaotic waters that God cleared away on page 1 of the Bible. He wanted to essentially start from the beginning, but loved mankind so much that he saved the best man of his generation, Noah. In the ark, God carries Noah's family and all the animals through the flood unharmed to start afresh in a world returned to innocence. It is a new beginning and a chance for a different end. It's also important to note that God literally has a covenant with Noah, promising that nothing like this will ever happen again. But in Legion, God isn't just disappointed, he is furious. Despite the fact that a chosen Messiah is about to be born that could guide humanity to redemption, God believes that even the best of humanity cannot outweigh the wickedness that has gone rampant. With that, he has called for the destruction of everything, with no exception. No man, beast, or insect will be spared, and humanity will not get another chance. But while all of his angels have blindly taken up his call to destroy the world, his most loyal and trusted archangel, Michael, the one essentially in charge of leading his armies, and the gigachat that fought and defeated Satan like a top chi, has chosen to directly disobey him, kickstarting the events in the film, which opens with its central character Charlie recounting how her mother's opinion of how God viewed us had changed. She tells us he was ever-loving and forgiving, but eventually got tired of all of humanity's crap. We're then introduced to Michael, who falls from heaven and coincidentally lands in LA, the city of fallen angels. Breaking into a warehouse, he uses a knife to cut his wings off, which removes his angelic halo and the immortality that came with it. No longer taking orders from heaven, he gears up with weapons and ammunition and exits explosively with the spirit of Jesus behind him. Giving us a taste of how bad things have gotten, we see two cops, Estevez and Burton, patrolling the streets with contempt for the citizens they're supposed to be protecting. Burton explains the city is about to explode from all the crime, and even despicably reveals he often wished he could burn the place down and start over.
Just a good old boy barbecue, huh? Fresh start. That's what this place needs.
Little does he know that God is about to beat him to the punch. At that exact moment, Michael comes out of the warehouse with his discounted gear. As the cops move to arrest him, they're suddenly disturbed to hear news of a rapid increase in crime on the radio. Michael tells them it has started and that there wasn't much time, but is told to drop the bags. With Estevez moving to restrain him, the Angel gets the upper hand and uses him as a human shield. The lights then begin to flicker and Burton is seemingly possessed by something. The possessed Burton asks what Michael is doing, as his current course of action was in direct violation of the orders he was given, and Michael tells him that he's following his own orders. With that, the possessed Burton smirks that he will be dying along with the child, before shooting his confused comrade in the head. But before he could kill Michael, the Angel exterminates the vermin and takes the patrol car. As he drives away, the light of the city fades, indicating the apocalyptic darkness is beginning to spread. Cutting to the Mojave Desert, we pan to a small desert diner/gas station, which is ironically named Paradise Falls, where a bunch of locals work, including Charlie, our pregnant narrator, who doesn't realize she's carrying a messiah and the key to humanity's salvation. There's Jeep, a boy with prophetic dreams about the end of the world and the death of Charlie, his father Bob Hansen, the owner of Paradise Falls, and Bob's best friend and chef at the diner, the one-armed vet, Percy Walker, who has the kind of one-handed dexterity on the grill that he makes Bullseye look clumsy. Waking up after another nightmare about the end of the world and the death of Charlie and her baby, Jeep exits his trailer to get some fresh air. Unable to sleep herself, Charlie joins him and tells him to stop carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders. She explains that her baby is going to be born in a month, and despite his insistence that he would help take care of the child that wasn't his, Charlie tells him she'll be giving it up to a good family.
Lord, as my witness, Bob, one of these days that thing's gonna hit you back.
A couple of hours later, we're introduced to Bob, who's trying to fix an old TV by slapping it, causing Percy to joke that it's only a matter of time before it hits him back. It's important to note that Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life is struggling to reach them on the television. Alluding to things to come, Jimmy Stewart says that he doesn't know whether he likes being seen around with an angel without any wings. Much like his character George Bailey, who meets Clarence, his guardian angel, Jeep, our silent protagonist, is about to meet Michael, the Archangel. Now that Michael has defied God by removing his wings and disobeying God's plan, we're going to find out that just like Clarence, he has another chance to earn them again.
Wing? Oh, I've got to earn them. You'll help me, won't you? Sure.
Joining them in the diner are married couple Howard and Sandra Anderson and their rebellious daughter Audrey, who are waiting for their car to be fixed. Frustrated by the wait time, the irritable Sandra complains to Howard about their daughter's scant clothing and how long the repairs are taking, forcing him to talk to Bob.
Excuse me, is there any news about when our car might be fixed? I gotta say, the rate we're going, we'd be lucky to make it to Scottsdale by Christmas.
On his way to a child custody proceeding for his son, Kyle Williams suddenly approaches the diner, lost and pressed for time. Finding Charlie smoking outside, he tells her that it wasn't good for the baby, before getting her to give him one in exchange for the two that he'll give her from the pack he's about to buy in the station. Showing her a map, Kyle asks if he's in the right place, and Charlie smiles, saying that he's completely off. Of course, Jeep soon approaches, thinking that something was wrong, but is assured by Charlie that the man was just lost. When Howard complains that they've been waiting for 2 hours, Bob tells him that it shouldn't be long. But when he goes to check on his son, he finds him cleaning an old crib for the baby instead of fixing the car, forcing Bob to reprimand his son for showing cuck tendencies. Jeep says that he's been having nightmarish dreams about Charlie and her baby being in imminent danger, something that he wants to prevent. But his father imparts an important lesson about not letting your dreams lead you astray. He explains that he once had a dream about opening Paradise Falls, in hopes of profiting from a small mall that was scheduled to open across the road many years ago. He gambled his entire life on this, but when the mall went to another location, it ruined him and their family. His wife left him and Jeep on their own as a result, and Bob doesn't want him to follow a dream that will also lead him to ruin. Seeing how serious the boy was about the nature of his visions though, Bob eventually relents and tells him to get back to working on the car. Unbeknownst to everyone inside, a massive storm appears to be approaching the diner. Paying Bob to use the phone, Carl manages to get on a call with his ex-wife, but is frustrated to hear that she won't let him see his son before their custody battle in court. Worse still, the phone experiences interference before ultimately cutting out altogether.
Your phone is breaking up. Do you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Hilariously, after finally getting a look at the vehicle he was supposed to repair, he enters the diner and tells his father there was something wrong with the computer system, but that they also don't have the equipment to fix it. He suggests they tow their car to the next town, but Carl returns from the phone and says that he was cut off mid-sentence and that the phones are now dead. The TV stops working too, prompting Bob to return to the abusive relationship he had with it, and after a few hits, the screen jumps to the emergency broadcast signal, along with a cacophonous beeping tone.
Could be nothing to worry about.
So then why's the TV out? Maybe it was terrorists.
Well, for crying out loud, there's no use speculating.
When Percy tries the radio, he also gets the same signal. With everyone clearly freaking out and speculating about what might be happening, Bob tries his best to calm everyone down, explaining it was probably just technicians working on lines that's causing all the problems, but he couldn't be further from the truth. Revealing how wrong he was, a few moments later, an old lady approaches the diner in her car and comes out on a walker with a malignant smile. Greeted by Charlie, she orders a nearly raw steak before stating her baby, along with everybody else, is about to burn. Shocked and disturbed by her insidious intonations, Sandra confronts the old woman and is told that all she does is complain. Taking offense, Howard approaches the old lady, but before he can say much, the demonic nanny lunges at him, taking a bite out of his neck. As he bleeds out on the floor, the old woman transforms into her true form. Terrified, Percy throws a frying pan towards her head, breaking her neck, but instead of staying down, she gets back up and crawls on the ceiling like an evil Spider-Man. Grabbing a shotgun, Bob tries to shoot her, but is unable to keep up with her speed and gets knocked out. Jeep then grabs the fallen shotgun, but can't bring himself to kill her, and as the possessed woman is about to lunge at him, she's shot dead by Kyle, who was packing. But this is only the beginning of their turmoil.
Somebody help me!
Kyle immediately begins applying pressure to Howard's neck and advises his wife to do the same. Unable to call for medical help, Sandra, Audrey, Percy and Carl put Howard in Carl's Suburban and gun it to the nearest hospital, which Percy tells them is over 80 miles away. As they drive, Audrey notices a strange cloud in the distance. Carl just brushes it off as a storm. However, the cloud seems to be moving, and it soon becomes evident that they're actually a massive swarm of flies. As they swarm the car and infiltrate the air conditioning vents, Bob and Jeep have a heart-to-heart at the diner. Jeep is nearly broken that his inaction nearly cost him their life, but his father assures him that there's nothing to be ashamed of. Much to their surprise, they look outside to see the group return. As they bring Howard back in, Bob asks what's going on. Percy simply tells him that he's getting the Bible and that somebody needs to start praying, as the pestilence surrounds them. Just as quickly as it came, the pestilence disappears, and the group decide to stay put when they spot a police cruiser out in the distance. Despite being happy to see a cop, they're confused as to what an LA police cruiser is doing all the way out here. Realizing it's not a cop, Bob then points his gun at Michael and demands to see his teeth, citing the strange things that have been happening. Complying with the request, Michael tells him his name and is surprised that they don't know that the end is nigh. Telling them he doesn't have much time for this, he disarms Bob and looks out into the distance. Giving him the gun back, he grabs his weapons cache and begins arming everyone, explaining that they are coming. He also gives a gun to Charlie and tells her not to do anything heroic. As the sun sets, the men head up to the roof to watch out for any more attackers and hear the sound of the ice cream man approaching. Stepping out, the possessed man begins to grotesquely extend his arms and legs and lets off an inhuman scream before charging at the diner. Taking aim, Michael guns him down and tells the shocked men that more are coming. And a few moments later, a large number of cars come over the horizon, all filled with the possessed wanting to kill Charlie's unborn child. As the convoy begin closing in on both sides, Michael orders them to shoot and they unleash fire and fury at the vehicles, causing many of them to crash and explode. As he yells at everyone to keep the possessed from reaching the diner, one breaks through the window and grabs Howard. Charlie tries to help, but she's also almost taken until Michael slices off the man's hand and repels the rest of the devils, ending the first wave. It's here in the brief reprieve that Michael reveals that he's here to protect Charlie and her unborn child. Moreover, much to everyone's disbelief, he explains the people attacking them were possessed not by demons, but by angels sent from God to deliver his wrath. And the key to humanity's survival is Charlie's baby, a messiah in the next chapter of civilization.
The last time God lost faith in man, he sent a flood. This time he sent what you see outside.
As Percy and Carl take watch on the roof and talk about their life choices, Jeep and Michael continue to fortify the diner. The boy asks why he's helping them, especially if it means violating orders from heaven. Michael tells him that when God first made man, he was the first of the angels to bow down before them, because, like God, he loved humanity. And even though God has given up on them, Michael is not.
I've watched you kill each other over race and greed. And yet, in the midst of all this darkness, I see some people who will not be bound. Tell me, Gabriel, you wish to be a son who gives his father what he asks for, or what he needs.
Michael then finally explains that he still has hope in humanity because of people like Jeep, who don't give up in spite of the challenge and love unconditionally. As the morning approaches, Sandra is lured outside by the sound of her husband, who's tied upside down and covered in acidic pulsing boils. Despite everyone's attempt to hold her back, she runs out to help him like an idiot, leading to the death of Percy, who sacrifices his life to shield her. After tying Sandra to a chair for their safety, they hear a report on the radio that small pockets of resistance are fighting back. But when they suggest perhaps heading to one of those locations, Michael defiantly tells them that he cannot risk the baby being born while they were on the move and not in a secure location.
You'll get through this. I know you will.
Why do you have so much faith in me, Jeep, huh? God knows I've never given you or anybody else a reason to.
Up on the roof that night, Kyle and Audrey notice a father and son approach the gas station in their van. Unfortunately, as the man begins to fill up the tank, he's surrounded by hordes of the possessed that kill him and take the boy. Seeing his own boy and the helpless child, Kyle jumps down and attempts to save him, only to discover it was a trap, with the possessed child then biting into his neck. Audrey sees this and charges towards Kyle to save him, killing several of the possessed along the way, but running out of ammo, she ends up having to lock herself inside the minivan. As the group scramble to open the door and save her, Michael insists that he cannot risk them opening the door and letting the possessed in. But confronted by Charlie, who threatens to do something if he didn't, Michael engages his alpha and gets the job done quite easily. Jeep also makes them proud by finally pulling the trigger to kill one of the possessed that broke in and started moving on Charlie.
It's coming.
With Charlie's water breaking, the men take watch as Audrey and Michael help her deliver a healthy baby boy, whose cries appear to cause great pain to the thousands of possessed outside. As a massive horn then bellows, Michael tells them that they must immediately leave. He explains that since the child was born, none of the possessed, aka the angels of God, can approach him. That's one of the perks of being a messiah. But Gabriel, who like Michael is an archangel, and thus not bound by the same laws, comes to kill the child and usher in the end of all. Unfortunately, with their mind stretched past breaking point, Sandra takes the baby, hoping that by giving him to the possessed, their nightmare would end.
It's just my baby.
As the door behind Sandra glows white and Gabriel gets closer, Michael is forced to shoot her, causing her to drop the baby, who's luckily caught by Jeep. The furious Gabriel then enters, swinging his giant mace with malicious intent. Bob then distracts him by showering him in bullets, enabling Michael to instruct everyone to leave, before telling the boy to learn to read the instructions and find the prophets, much to Jeep's confusion. After grievously injuring Bob, Gabriel moves to Michael, who begs his brother to let the child live. Having already made up his mind and unable to disobey the Lord, Gabriel apologizes before stabbing himself through the chest to impale and kill Michael, in a pretty beast move. While Gabriel is immortal, Michael, who became mortal after cutting off his wings, ultimately dies. As Michael's body fades into an angelic blue glow, the same weird tattoo-like markings that were on his body are then transferred to Jeep, essentially the instruction that he was told to carefully read. Gabriel then prepares to pursue the others and walks past Bob, who's still alive and has disconnected the gas pipes. Giving his son time to escape, he ignites the gas, which engulfs them both in flames. Now even more furious than before, Gabriel spots the car and smashes onto the roof, forcing Jeep to hit the brakes, throwing both Audrey and Gabriel out of the car, which also crashes in the process. Jeep is then awoken by Charlie, who survived the crash along with the baby, but is told that Audrey wasn't so lucky. With no sign of Gabriel, they head towards the mountain range, where a colony of survivors have built up a resistance force, one of many that the baby is undoubtedly supposed to lead into the light when he grows up. Of course, it's not long until Gabriel shows up, but as he pulls out his knife to kill Jeep, a resurrected Michael comes down from heaven, back in angel form, and defeats him. As his brother looks up at him in shock, Michael explains that he was brought back because he did the right thing, giving God what he needed, not what he wanted. Since he no longer had a purpose, with God having now changed his mind and rescinded Order 666, Gabriel flies back up to heaven. Bidding Jeep good fortune and thanking him for giving him the strength to believe in humanity again, Michael also returns to heaven, as Jeep, Charlie and the baby continue their journey to find the prophets that will help them temper and guide the savior of mankind. With that said, that's all for today folks. A huge thanks to everyone that voted we cover Legion. If there's anything else you'd like for me to cover, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
Sorry, we're out of business.